Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word. Everton 0, Leeds United 1. Another defeat to talk about. Sadly, we've been here in the last few weeks and it seems like all we've done is talk about defeats and disappointing games, and a bit of a theme happening at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, sadly. 4 defeats in the last 5, and it's mad, isn't it? The opening 7 games, there's 7 wins, and it's almost like a switch has been flicked, and all of a sudden now it feels like it kind of did the back end of last season with different players in the same actors in the same film, as you would like to say, but it's disappointing at the moment.
Yeah, it's just annoying to see teams, 2 defeats at Goodison now in a row. It's disappointing to see teams come to Goodison or us go away and them just be look a little bit fitter and a little bit more organised, and basically that's all they need to be, and that's quite worrying, because I always find that certainly when you get off to a good start, you want to keep it going, and then if you do get a tail off like this, you think, well, where's it all going? Whereas other teams might have a bad start and then they start pulling it together and things start falling into place and they're on an upward trajectory. And that's what's slightly worrying me, is that, yes, at the moment you look at the league table and it's not too worrying, but you've got to pull yourself out of this or find out what the issues are, while other teams around you have already found out what the issues are. And that's what slightly worries me about the team at the moment. Going forward, obviously we've got injury problems. Both of our fullbacks are obviously out injured, and that's a major issue. But then, for me, that shows a major issue through the club. Sorry, because if we haven't got fullbacks available to play, then what does that say about the people who are bringing in the players? That we haven't got good enough fullbacks, that we couldn't have gone out and bought a right back because we didn't think our backup right back was good enough, or he doesn't trust our backup left back. That slightly worries me as well when you look at the squad, because then that's starting to dictate how you play, and that's an issue. I mean, the team, obviously we went in with a back 3 again, but for some unknown reason, and listen, we can, I think it's all fair to point out where we feel like things are going wrong, certainly with team selections as well. As I for the life of me can't understand why he swapped Iwobi over to the left and put Tom Davis in at right wing back, because last week Iwobi was great at right wing back. He was attacking. On the other side you got Luca Dean, and certainly in that first half when we scored 3 goals at Fulham, those 2 plays were so high that they were wingers basically. And yet in this game, Iwobi playing left wing back is basically going into the space that Richarlison already naturally fills, and Tom on the other side just isn't attacking. He hasn't got that kind of ability to get going. Maybe sometimes Tom could be a right back, a defensive right back, if you need him to be, but I don't think he's got that anything in him to be a proper right, to what you need now in the modern age as a right back. So I thought straight away, Carlo I just couldn't believe it when I seen the team. It was just a real head scratch. And then when you looked at the bench as well, that compounded it. It really did. To leave Nkunku out, I just thought was absolutely a scandalous decision. A scandalous decision that come back to really haunt us in the game, because someone like that who could have changed the game or give us the ability to play that 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 properly was completely left off the bench.
Yeah, it was a worry. I think last week when the news broke that Luca Dean was out, you start thinking, well, we've got Nkunku. He's played 4 games for the first team, albeit only 1 in the Premier League, but he's played 3 Carabao Cup games, done all right. But he's naturally a fit lad. He can run up and down, got good pace, just decent 1v1. And it looked quite good, and it was, okay, with 3 at the back, maybe it'll suit him a little bit more as well. But then Carlo's press conference on Friday, when they were asking who was going to play on the left, and he said Iwobi can play there, I just thought, oh no, please don't put Iwobi there. And he did. You know, and this is a lad who, I said on me Matt's reaction, he's struggling still over a year into his Everton career to find his feet at the club.
Yeah.
And he played last week and looked comfortable at right wing back, and we were good. He was important in the second goal. He committed players. So the thing that I just couldn't understand, why we changed 3 positions, because we had 1 injury. Okay, bringing Holgate in for Yerry Mina, fair enough. You know, if he thinks Yerry Mina's not playing well at the moment, we all know that Mason Holgate's a good centre-back. Fair enough. That's his call. I want a bit more legs at the back, whatever. But to swap Iwobi from the right to the left and then to put Tom Davies in at right wing back in the position that Tom Davies doesn't play and hasn't played. I mean, to be fair to Davies, he created a brilliant chance early on for the Corey, which he should have scored. But that was really the only thing he did. He was all right. He wasn't like getting caught out and everything, but he wasn't offering anything either, because he's not quick enough to play that. He's not dynamic enough to play that role. So we're already saying to a lad who's struggling to get into the 11 in midfield, where his position is, go and drop in at right wing back for us and do something you're not used to. And then you're saying to Iwobi, you were really good last week at right wing back, but now go over onto the other side. And you know that every time he goes forward, he's going to come inside. And I've just looked at a stat there. He didn't complete a take-on at all. Didn't attempt to dribble at all in the game. And last week, I think he'd had something like 6 out of 7 or whatever on the right-hand side. So immediately it put us on the back foot. And within about 90 seconds, Leeds were clean through. 1 ball, he was through straight away, and he was caught out of position. Holgate didn't know whether to go, stick or go. And it didn't get any better. And it does make you... Carlo Ancelotti, we all really like him. He's a brilliant manager. He's proved that over his career. He's got all the trophies and everything else. But it annoys me with managers sometimes that they overcomplicate things. You've got a left-footed player. You play him.
It's overcomplication.
I look at other managers, and I'm not, again, it's just an observation, but I look at other managers and think, they just play someone who's left-footed there because they've got it, and it's like try and upset the team as least you can to try and get a result. And I don't know where the thinking come from on that decision. Normally you can go, well, his hands are tied, and they are to a certain extent. This squad, as I said to you before, we've spent like nearly £500 million in 4 seasons, and the squad doesn't look fit for purpose. And yeah, this is a championship side that's come up. Don't get me wrong, Bielsa's got them playing good football. They all know the job, they're fit. And you mentioned it, I think it was off camera, that they're a team. They're a team. And yet we've spent £500 million on a squad that isn't fit for it. It just looks like they look like a collection of individuals, not a football team. And that
and what I would say is that let's not forget, Carlo Ancelotti still only bought 4 players.
Yeah.
He's only bought 4
players. He's not
players.
a miracle worker.
He's not, and one of them Branthwaite as well, which is, you would say, we played in the under-23s at the weekend. So he's bought 3 first teamers. And
3's in this, so it's 4.
4, sorry. And Brandt, so you've got, it's not like he's overhauled the squad, and until he does overhaul the squad, I think you've got to be a little bit less.
He's got an excuse.
No,
that's the thing.
But the problem is, and I'll always sit here, and I think we've sat here, and this is the problem. We've had this conversation loads of times. It's the circle. It's the old circle. It's like every time someone complains about a player, look at the bench, right? But, and I know people might say what I'm saying now is what others have said about Anthony Gordon, right? And that's fair enough. But Nkunku is our backup left back. He is our backup left back. And therefore, if you're playing any kind of, whether it's 4-3-3 or whatever, or 3-5-2 or whatever, the backup player should come into the team. No ifs, buts or maybes. The backup player should come into the team. And actually wing back would suit him, I think, more than it would suit someone who maybe is a bit more developed in their career as a left back, because he's a little bit more
between the two, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah,
'Cause
so
young.
it actually suits him. It would suit him to play wing back. And listen, the manager, again, we always have the caveat, the manager knows them better than us. But like you said, the minute you start going, well, there's a position to fill there, so if we move him, and then we move him, and we move him, we can fit all these things together. Instead of going, you know what? Do you know we've got 10 players? And we've got one position we need to fill. Let's just fill that position with a player that can play there. And that's, I do think, and I think we've seen this so far this season, that Carlo just overcomplicates stuff. I think where he doesn't need to, where you just go left, like you just said, left footer, left back goes to left back. And I know he came out and said like John Joe Kenny's been struggling with something, you know. Never got quite back fit, so he's not 100%. But not to have Nkunku even on the bench, that I just think that's mad, genuinely mad, because just from an outside playing football all your days sort of thing and not having their experience. But you think to yourself, right, well, we need someone who can change it up on the left-hand side. Again, you look at the bench, yes, Bernard's there. But Bernard was the only real winger, wasn't he, on the bench, I think. So you're looking at it thinking, Luke can come on and change the game. And we've ended up bringing Delph on. And that compounds it.
But that, to me, Delph would have made more sense starting anyway. I know what you're saying, right? But for me, just at the minute, like I've just said, look at a team and get a framework and go, right, we've lost a fantastic footballer at Luke Dean. He's amazing for what he is. That left foot's brilliant. He's got a great engine on him. He's fantastic. But he's out now. He's out for 3 months.
So you've got it.
What we're doing is, let's just put a left footer there.
Yeah.
So if you don't trust Nkunku, then put him on the bench and Delph starts. And you go to Delph. Now listen, people don't like Delph, and I've got no issue with that. But all I'm saying is, if you want experience, which he quite clearly likes experienced players, then play Delph there because Delph's left-footed. And you say to Nkunku, be ready, because he can't play a full 90. And he let Delph's got that experience. He played there for Manchester City. Go with it and see how it goes. Because when you swap a winger, Iwobi isn't great defensively because he's never really had to be, because he's an offensive player. But putting him on the other side of the pitch, where we've seen this with Cuca Martina when he played there, a right-footed left-back. Every time you get the ball, they have to turn back because it isn't natural to let the ball roll across the body and go. It's stuff like that. I think fans will be patient with the likes of Nkunku. Yeah. Every fan would have gone, well, that's who I'd have played if Nkunku would have started. Now, if it's an issue for him, we'll see it, but we'll have to grow through it. Exactly. If Ancelotti come out and listen, we've just lost the best left-back in the club, right? And Niels Nkunku, we've decided is his backup, and it might take him 4 games to get into it, but he's playing, and that's the way it is.
And that's what
us as fans, I think, will go, all right.
That's what I thought, and I did this in my starting 11. And I said, one of the things I said was, Dean's out for 3 months. So this can't be messed about with every week.
Isn't it? It's got to be a plan.
So why not just get someone that has Nkunku and just go, right, and maybe it's a case of this week. He's looked at it and gone, oh, it's too soon, we need a week training or something. All right, if that's the case, that's the case. But whoever plays in that position has to play in that position, because we've got to get a framework sorted. That's been the difference between someone like Southampton or Leeds this week. When you look at them and go, they know what they're doing. And they've worked and worked and worked. And Leeds have worked on it for 2 years. Southampton have worked on it for a year. They know what they're doing and they've gone through the tough times. But what we seem to do is just like do something and then throw it away, and then do something else and then throw it away. What we need to get into being what we're going to be, because this is we are a team that rely on individuals. We're not a team. We're not. I don't see any patterns of play. I don't see a style we're trying to play. We just rely on the individuals of James Rodriguez, Richarlison, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that to me worries me more than anything, because that means that you need 11 players then who are all top class to do that, and maybe Carlos relied on that in the past. That to me will not get us to that level where we can get 11 players. We need to build through that, and That's something like that worries me, where I look at it and go, no, that should be in Kunku. And you know what, even if he has a bad game today, he'll play next week and he'll play the week after and he'll get there.
You'd almost have to do what you did with Dom.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to do what you did with Mason Holgate. Let them play through with it. We don't like it as listen, we'd all love to see that bench and go, any of them 7 sat on that bench could start because they're all good. We all want that. That's what we're working to. And you're right with Carlo. I said this again at the weekend. He's been at clubs where every player he's had virtually has been really good. So if he makes a couple of changes, the quality level doesn't drop off. He ain't got that yet. And he hasn't got his own players either. So it's difficult for him. And I understand that. And that's why it's the case of we've got to just go with it. But just don't make them mistakes. Just go, listen, we've lost the left back and he's the next left back and we'll go with it. I personally would just go to a back 4 again. Go back to 4-3-3 and help put someone in midfield like Godfrey or Holgate to help out Alan and the corner.
Talk about that in a bit. Obviously, it was a slow start. Obviously, you mentioned they got in really quickly. A stupid ball by Pickford gets cut out halfway line. Lad knocks it through and he's away, and he actually knocks it back past Pickford.
Who come out and then stopped. He come, nobody.
I know. Listen,
he come off his line, all right, but then he just stopped, and we got away with that. But
so obviously, very slow start. But that things like that straight away, that annoys me because all that says to the opposition is, we'll run these today, and they did. Listen, we had loads of good chances really when you think about it. The Corey, as you mentioned before, Tom does well, puts a great ball in, and for me, the Corey should be scoring. The keeper makes
a really good save.
I know he's on the stretch, and the keeper, but it looked
further over it.
Yeah, it was very close to the keeper.
Yeah, but he did make a good save. You got to give him, and he was up quick as well before Dom could put it in.
I just think he should have scored personally, but it was a wide open game, but something always said to you at the back of your mind that they had the edge. You know what I mean? Because they looked like they were in more control of the game. Like we were making chances, but far too many times our defenders either on the ball or off the ball just kicking the ball away. I seen them having shots where our players were just like sticking out legs and weren't really bothered where it was landing. And you're thinking,
done it twice, and he done one where when Pickford made a great save at his foot from Bamford, but Godfrey's got the situation under control and Keane goes and tackles him.
Yeah.
And it rolls back to it, lad squares it and Bamford hits it, and it's like, he's covering it. Godfrey's going to deal with it. Why are you getting involved? And then another one, he just sticks his leg out and rolls it back. And
Holgate did one when Pickford made the save when Davis got out jumped. And Holgate just swings a leg at it.
And it's back to them again.
Back to their play. Like, you can't do that.
And then Godfrey clears it off the line.
Yeah, then Godfrey clears it off the line. You can't do that at this level. You either got to make sure it goes out or you put it out for a corner behind. You can't just throw a leg at it. And there's far too much of that at the moment in this team. Panic.
They looked like we know that they are really a cohesive team. We know that. We know they fly forward brilliantly. But I think the problem, and I don't know whether, listen, Carlo Ancelotti, if you look at all of his teams, they've never really had a style of play because he's got good play. He's always had good players. So it's kind of like, do what you need to do and your individuals will produce brilliance for you. And you can be successful like that, of course. You can. Not every team has this imprint of what they do, where you can plan, you know what I mean? You plan exactly what you're doing. They are a team who does have a set way of playing, and they're all fully up to speed with it.
Yeah.
They all know what they're doing, and their manager's brought that Rafinha. I think it was only second or third start for them, and he looked really good. And you've got Jack Harrison, a kid we know from New York City back then, and you've got players who know the job. And I think it was evidence on Saturday that they are a team who knows exactly what they're doing. Whether the players are top class, if Patrick Bamford was top class, they'd have beat us 4-0. Because, and not saying he's not a decent player, because he is, but he's just not that top level. And a couple of other players they've got aren't at that top level, but they're a good side.
But it elevates because
they're
a side,
because they're a team who works. Calvin Phillips was
the thing that massively noticed during the game, and again, it really worries me is that every time we got an opportunity, it was genuine because we were playing the ball over the top, and Dom was on his own or might have had a couple with him. Yeah, every time they had a chance, they had 4 or 5 in our box. And that again, that worries me. That worries me that, again, we're relying on Dom. We're relying on, we're relying on James Rodriguez, maybe springing Dom away, instead of playing through the thirds of the pitch.
But you won't the way we play.
No, but that's the problem, though. That's a real problem, because then you're relying on the team. You can't rely on counter-attacking football if you can't defend. You just can't, can you? The basis of counter-attacking football is you've got to be able to defend. Yeah. You've got to stop the. The thing is, we've seen this early in the season when we played like Brighton. It really worked in that game. We're 2-1 up at half time. We've got off set pieces and then we're catching them in just before the final third, and we're away, and we scored twice in the second half off it, and we're still almost relying on that one trick. But if you can't defend, you can't counter-attack. And that's a real problem, because you've got to be able to have 2 or 3 players ready to go the other way, which means that you've got to have a little bit of, you've got to be prepared to take a couple of chances. And I look at us at the moment, and I just think we defensively we're such a mess that we're not gonna be able to counter-attack.
I think one of the things we did do, and I think I'd said this, Dad had said it at the time, I think Holgate kind of said it after the game as well. We got caught up in their game plan.
Yeah.
And their game plan was just like, they're going to fly forward, so we'd like break and try to do the same. The problem is, when you're trying to do the same, you start forcing things. And how many times did the Corey give the ball away, or we'd break quickly and someone would give the pass, and then they'd spring us?
Do you think, because that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, we give the ball away. I think we give it away 5 times in the opening 3 minutes. We give the ball away more than anyone I've ever seen.
Holgate done it on the edge of their box, and they broke us. They sprung us.
Yeah, that's when they should have scored.
Terrible
that's
ball.
when they should have scored after the Corey should have scored. He loses it on the edge of the box because he's not taking care, and they're away. Do you think one of the problems is that Carlo Ancelotti wants us to play faster, right? So he wants the passes getting pinged in, and either we simply don't have good enough players to play like that, or the players are not taking care enough, and it's meaning that we're losing the ball more often. Because one of the things you could say about us, I've noticed, is we haven't got loads of lightning fast players, so it's about being quicker on the ball. Because it's been said we're too slow in possession, we don't move the ball fast enough. And Carlo said himself, we don't move the ball fast enough going forward. It's all back and to the side. Do you think that's led to all these bad passes? Because we are just like quick as you can, we're not taking care of it. And I personally think it's because we haven't got good enough players to look after the ball. And I think that's where we lose the ball so often.
I think, like I said, I think we got caught up in their game plan. I think what we should have done was slowed the game down. I think we should have slowed it down and moved them about a bit. And we didn't. We started trying to play like a basketball game with them. And that's why in the first half in particular, it was back and forth. But they broke so much quicker than we did. Yet we still had great chances in the first half.
And one of the and because of Phillips, and that's where slightly reminds me of not probably maybe he's good, but one that's not as good. But Wolves, when they came to us in their first season in the Premier League, they had someone in centre midfield like Calvin Phillips, great passer, who could spring players. And again, that's another thing we don't have. We don't have anyone in our midfield who's got a brilliant range of passing. We don't have someone who our wingers or Dom can pull wide, and every time it's going to hit them. And I remember going back to that Wolves game, and I remember every time they broke, whoever broke got it on the toe, because he just kept on pinging. And it meant that it was like it was counter-attacking football, but not in the traditional sense. And I think that's what Leeds have got. Leeds players can all push up, because they know as soon as he gets it, he's hitting one of them.
Yeah, because they've got options. And
we don't have that. Our passing is poor. The amount of times Michael Keane comes out the back recently and has given the ball away is ridiculous. I mean, Michael Keane has got the second most passes in the Premier League, by the way. Second most in the Premier League. But recently, the amount of times he's come out and under-hit passes, or like they're looking like they've asked him to be the player to come out the back. Because don't get me wrong, Michael Keane's passing is good, and we've seen it. But we know that when
sloppy,
but we know that when he loses confidence, it's almost like you said before, it's forcing it. There's far too much of that, far too much of trying to force.
I don't understand why when you play footy, you've got to take each game as it comes, haven't you? I know it's like a cliche, but what I mean by that is every time you step onto a pitch, it's a new game, innit? And so you've almost got to forget what's gone before. And yet we look like we've forgotten everything we were doing well. I know the personnel's changed and we've lost a few games, but like Saturday, we're on the ball. You know, why isn't it getting there? Why is the Corey not able to pass a 5-yard? Twice in the first half, we had good positions and he overhit it once straight out when Calvert-Lewin was through. If he'd played it properly, Don was in, he overhit it for a goal kick. Another one he put behind. He seen him go like that and he was like talking to himself as if to say, what's going on here? The only time he really run at them was Alan. When he ran at them and he fed one into the Richarlison, and I don't know whether he swapped positions with a toddler for a minute, but that shot was embarrassing. Rolled it to the goalkeeper. And there's just not enough of that. And you're right, Calvin Phillips, what they did, got it into him. For some reason, Everton didn't put anyone on him. Don really probably should have come round and sat on him when he was in possession, or James, because James wasn't playing wide. But he'd get it, spin it out of his body. And you're right, they had Luke Ayling flying one way. If you look up, Jack Harrison's an option, Aloyski's an option. And he was banging it left or right. They always had options. Everton don't do that in the midfield. We get it. And we try to go forward and then it goes wide and it comes back and it comes across and it goes wide and it comes... And it's never through the middle. Or it's never, we'll spin quick and we're in. The only time we forced it quickly was the one when Davis gave it to the Corey, because we done it nice and sharp edge of the box. And so that's where the makeup of the team is wrong. And listen, I said the other week, why don't we try it back 5? But that was when I was thinking we'd have a Wobie and Dean and we'd have James pushed in, because I wanted it to be a 3-4-1-2, and it's never been that. It's been 3-4-1-1 and one on the wing.
It is personnel.
No, it is, but why isn't Richarlison playing next to Dom?
I don't know what where Richarlison...
That's what I mean. I don't know where he played. If you think of like a traditional 3-5-2, say for argument's sake, right? So you've got your two double pivots, which is Alan and Decore, and then you've got James should really be sat in that 10 role. Then you'd have your 2 strikers in front of him, and your width comes from your wing backs. Everton don't do that. Everton have got 3, then they've got 4, 5, because they've got
3.
It's almost like a 3.
It's 3-4-2-1. No, I know, but that's what it was.
I know, but the two aren't wide.
Richarlison's playing into out.
I know, but
and James is playing into in.
So what it means is when it's up to Dom, he's got to battle with 3 before anyone gets near him. Where last season, why the 2 of them were so effective was when Dom was up there, Richie was next to him. So if he knocked it down or flicked it on, we were in. Now,
but even last week though, with Dean playing as high as he could. That means Richarlison was playing in and around the box.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, Richarlison was just basically playing where Iwobi should have been playing. Yeah. So if I'm thinking, if Nkunku's playing, then Nkunku's going to be high up, and Richarlison has got to go and find more space. Yeah, he's got to go and find space somewhere else, and that suddenly puts them on the back foot. And that's why straight away, though, that selection of Iwobi was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong the minute the eye was put on the team sheet. It was, and you don't need to be a football expert. You don't need to be someone who's won trophies all around the world. You just need to know a tiny little bit about football to know that the happiest we've seen Iwobi was in that position last week. And the minute you move him, you're sort of getting into his head then and saying, well,
we're not sure.
No, you did well, but actually we're going to you're compromising the whole thing. You might as well have... basically what we had on Saturday was 2 players playing at, let's say, Tom playing at 50% and Iwobi playing at 60%. Whereas what you would have had was Iwobi playing 100% and on the other side, Nkunku maybe playing 75%. That makes more sense.
He'd have played at 100% because it's his...
Well, you know what I mean?
No, what I mean, he might have...
75% of what Dean would have done, that's what I mean.
That's the thing.
Or 60% of what Dean would have done. That to me is you've got to take those things into consideration. But it didn't. But listen, we were unlucky in the sense of we had 2 goals ruled out. Both of them were offside. I mean, James Rodriguez, if that had stood, that would have been a sensational goal. What a
great
goal.
Skill, wasn't it?
What a goal. He was offside. And to be fair, I seen it with the naked. I seen both of them with the naked eye before. I didn't celebrate.
It's a lot tighter than you think, though.
No, I know.
One angle he looked, I was
yeah.
like, I was miles off. And then when he done the lines, it's actually only
I was open. I was going to get a surprise. But,
but the Richarlison one, was in front of the goal.
He's in front of the goalkeeper, isn't he?
No change and we had the keeper made a couple of good saves. He made one from, he blocked one from Holgate, didn't he? Made the other one, which he pushed wide from Richarlison, I think. So we did have
chances.
Michael Keane's header as well. The keeper's off his line. How's he headed it over? And you're thinking, I wish that was done.
No, we did have chances. And
but then so did they.
They did as well. We got into it half time and everyone's like, oh, that's still 0-0.
I mean, Jack Harrison hit the post of the header and he should have scored the one that got squared to me, put it wide. But...
So it was a wide open game. Second half, it become a bit of a non-event, didn't it? It become like it was a bit like we'll feel each other out.
I think we got a bit more control of it in the second half, especially when Delph came on. I thought we had a bit more control. I'm not saying we were in total control, but we kind of nullified what they did. They didn't really have anything. We had two good opportunities for Dom in the opening 5 minutes of the second half.
One from the right, one from the
left. He should have cut back inside. I've never seen him yet steer one of them in with his left foot. No. He should have touched it back. He got himself in a great position. If he just touches it back inside, he can at least whip it there and force the keeper. And we had the other one, which Rodriguez did superb with on the edge of the box, and he just headed it over the lad and he gave it to the Richarlison, and the finish was horrific. Skied it, and it was really awful. There was no pressure on him. Should have hit the target. And then after that, I don't think really we had anything after that.
No, and I think for a team like Leeds, that was there was not like a growing sense that they were going to win the game, but to me, I was sitting there thinking they're going to win the game. I was though, because it just felt like
they felt more likely.
They looked like a team. They looked like they were just going to continue doing what they were doing, and they do continue what they were doing. And last week, maybe it never come off, and you can see why they lost a couple of games 4-1 as well. Defensively, they're a bit of a mess defensively. But going forward, the way they play and having, it was funny because the commentator actually said, "Oh, Leeds are starting to tire," and then about 2 minutes later, they were bombing forward and battering.
I think they scored. Once they scored, they got that renewed energy, because we did. If you think about it, when you look back at the game after it, you're thinking, yeah, but I've watched it again, like large portions of it again, and in that, when Gomez come on, Everton did have control. He got hold of the ball and we were moving it, and they weren't really doing anything.
And I get that.
We weren't really doing anything either in the defence.
But then it's a case of once again, it's a case of the subs, isn't it? The subs have come on, and yes, you can go, well, they'll give us a little bit more control, and Gomez has got a little bit of control, but not in any kind of attacking sense. We just got on the ball a little bit more, and again, I look at the subs.
Just done what we really probably should.
I look at the subs and think, well, if we'd had an Nkunku on the pitch, then Iwobi could have gone to the right, and then he could have done what he wanted with the left. I can't over-reiterate how poorly I think those decisions were. And the subs bench looked like something out of Dad's army. It really did. It was like looking at a shot. It was looking like, that picture of the fellas who were sitting on the metalwork in New York.
Stop it.
No, it did. It looked like an old man's. It did though, Baz. I know he doesn't trust kids, but there should have been players simply because they play in those positions. Scandalous.
Nkunku should have been on the bench. He should have started, but if he didn't start, it should have been Delph, and Nkunku should have been on the bench. And we had Sigurdsson, Gomez, Bernard, Leersel.
Did Bernard touch it when he came on?
I don't think so.
No.
Leersel.
6 minutes.
Who else was sub Mina? You're looking at, I know, unless Olsen's picked up a knock or something, you never know. But we didn't, Schenk Tosin. He's not going to change. He's not going to change anything, is he? So,
except Godfrey was on the pitch.
Yeah, I think yeah. But listen, we can't level that at him, because what we can say is he could have had maybe Gordon and Nkunku there. But in terms of the whole squad, he's only got a handful of players that he's brought in. But there's just no way. I looked at Leeds subs and they've got like Rodrigo on the bench and stuff, and you're thinking, well, he can come on, he's a handful, and a couple of other lads who
But obviously, the goal itself, just when sort of the game was getting a bit, I'd been sort of petering out. The lad gets it. I honestly don't know how he's allowed that much time to shoot. See, you've got 3 centre-backs, and then you've got 2 wing-backs, and yet the centre-backs are not putting pressure on. Godfrey, for me, there, should be just out to him and making sure that he's got to either beat him or he's got to push it wide. And yet he's allowed to take it down, and he's allowed to move it, and he's allowed to strike it. And that, to me, is... You know, we talk about stopping the cross. How about stopping shots? How about, you know, they might look at it and go, well, I've done my job because, you know, I've made them shoot from there. Well, it's Premier League.
He gets out, he starts to go and press him, Godfrey, but he does that thing that we've seen in the last few weeks. We've seen Iwobi do it, we've seen Yerry Mina do it, we've seen others do it. They kind of run out, we've seen Sigurdsson do it. It's like, look, I'm pressing, but they stop. And I think Rafinha opens his body out like he's going to switch it wide, and Godfrey stops the run. He stops the run because he thinks it's going wide and he's in my eyesight. Pickford takes a step to his right because he's thinking it's going there. Okay, it's fortunate it goes through Godfrey's legs. He goes like that and it goes through his legs. Could hit him and block and go anywhere. But if he'd carried on pressing, you're right, he'd have either had to beat him. Chances are he'd have knocked it wide. But he didn't, and it's something to work on, but we're not good enough at that. We've seen that this season. We've seen it with West Bromwich Albion in the opening home game when Diane Garner ran with the ball, and we don't want a shot. Pickford actually had to go with someone early on in this, when a shot that we saved.
Last week.
He'd done the shade, right down his throat, and he's like, why are we letting people shoot? This is the problem that Everton have, and I don't know.
There's no aggression. There's no aggression in the team. There's no aggression. There's no one. But there's no aggression anywhere. There's no one saying to Godfrey, why didn't you block that? Why? There's like, Michael Keane's too busy looking. This is the problem. Michael Keane's too busy looking after his performance. Holgate's the captain, and he was pretty poor, to be honest. That, you know, in terms of like defense, like composure. Where's the composure in the defence?
I think, me personally now, it's get a flat back four.
Time to get it sorted.
Get a flat back four. Isn't Kunku. And that's the way it is. Whether people rate that or they don't. He's left-footed. He's playing there. Choose your centre-half pairing.
After that, which was even worse, there was 12 minutes to go, and yet the game felt like it was finished. Yeah. And that's what's even more scandalous. All right, Goodison Park, 12 minutes to go, you're 1-0 down. If there's a full house there, it's going to be a different picture. I appreciate that. But there isn't a full house there, and you just think, right, let's throw the kitchen sink at them. No, we don't. We didn't do anything. Maybe had a couple of half chances. Have we made the keeper make a save? No. Has there been any moments? No. There's been a couple of little half chances, yeah, but to play out the rest of the game and not make them do anything is just, to me, again, poor. Very, very poor. Just.
Who do you blame for that?
Well, I blame the players, because where's the intensity? Where's the intensity to go and win? It's great after the game when they're all swapping shirts with their compatriots and all that.
Like that or that. And imagine that, Goodison, we've just lost 1-0. They're not going to be smiling and swapping shirts. There's not a chance.
But like, where's the intensity to go, right, we're throwing everything at these now. We're having a real go at them. Like, it's just, like, Leeds did not. Imagine us away from home, 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go.
Couldn't get out about
Kitchen sink could be thrown at us.
Couldn't get out
and yet, there's just this mindset. And again, I'm not putting it down to Carlo, because I just think that the players he's got to choose from, far too many of them are this. It's the same thing I was moaning about 12 months ago, where the players are all just like, you see people like Andre Gomez just, do you know what I mean? It's just all like, Fabian, all these players who just like, even if you look at them, there's no one who's actually like, like, you know what I mean? Like, normally he comes from a Charleston, but he was crap. Let's be honest, he was crap.
Terrible at the weekend.
There's no one out there who's like really, really fuming at the situation. Everyone's just like, and it drives me mad, because I think that's where it comes from. I feel like Alan was the only one, and he was like took it upon himself to just drive forward, but he's looking at the other players going, like, where are we?
We need half a dozen.
Like, you know what I mean? They're the players who make teams, and yet I'm looking at that Erling, right? Who's obviously come. Is it Erling? He's come through when he was on the floor, I'm thinking, he's going off here. He was just like, no, I'm just going to... And then...
He was brilliant for them.
But he drove all the time. And it's that kind of...
But if you watch the Leeds documentary, he's brilliant.
No, I know he is, but that's what I'm saying.
Character.
It's that kind of
Calvin
thing.
Phillips
and it's what annoys me, is that you see these players who come up from the lower divisions, and they're obviously good players, but they've got that spirit in them as well. Our players have not got any of that in them. It's all... We spoke about loads on this channel about... And anyone who's watched our Live at Fives, and which we criticise the system of players coming through. And I think this game just embodied that. Just these players are just like, they're all just like...
It's all had it too easy.
Exactly.
That's
it's all
it
just
feels.
like, yeah, it's another game we've lost, don't worry about it. Another game next week. And just like, that's not how football works. Because then, they're being told to run through brick walls by that Lou. How he sits like that for the entire... How does he sit like that?
His knees must be
His knees must be gone.
I just loved the first 10 minutes. He was just looking at his cup of coffee. I was like, why aren't you watching the game? But he knows that his team's that well drilled. He doesn't have to look at it.
How is his knees still there?
He must be boss at yoga. He must be. He must be.
But
And he must have loads of cod liver oil because his knees, it's incredible how he does. But like I said before, the game, they deserve to win. And you can't, sometimes you've got to just go.
No, they did.
They were the better side. And they should be an example to us of how to build a team and how to work for each other. And you're right, there's too many of our players we've just bought poorly. That's what we've done. We've bought too many of the same type of player. We've got a bench all the same. Every one of them is the same type of player.
Yeah,
every one of them.
Crap.
No, but just slow and
passive.
They do the same thing, and it's like, I don't know, it's so frustrating because it just feels like, it always feels like we're just chalking another year off.
But what
we
need,
we need another window and another window.
I've had this with a couple of people in, the WhatsApp groups and stuff. What we have to do now as a club is be aggressive, though. We have to be aggressive. We have to go into this window now and go and get a couple of players.
We won't, though.
No, I know, but that's the problem. And I'm sick of hearing all this nonsense, about FFP and everything, right? Because what we have to do now is start being aggressive in the transfer market. And if the money's not there, then we're going to have to do something else radical to get the money, which I wouldn't want to do, but we might have to do it because this team is crap. This squad is... Someone said to me at the weekend, oh, we shouldn't be losing to a team like Leeds with a squad as good as us. A squad as good as ours? It's crap. It's bloated. It's the same squad since last season, bar you've added a couple of people and Dom's got brilliant and started scoring goals. And that's it. It's the same squad.
We know that we've got 12, 13 players, really. And then after that, they're not good enough. And that's the fact of the matter. Everton's best side is the team that beat Spurs day one, right?
I don't even think we've got...
That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying that Everton's best team is the team that beat Tottenham on day one. Right?
Yeah, well, that's the best.
You need Andre Gomez at that level, and he ain't been at that level.
That's the best team.
And yet we've got two of those players out, so already we're weak.
But that's our best team. But even that team's not good enough week in and week out because it needs it needs options. It needs a new goalkeeper, it needs a new right back, it probably needs a new centre half, it needs another centre midfielder, and it definitely needs a winger to add to the squad as well. That's before we've even started for me. That's before we've even what I'm talking about has been a good. That 11 is our best 11.
And that 11 can beat most teams in the Premier League. I think.
Maybe.
I think.
But
you're right. Anything under that.
We want to. But once it's not even. It's not even.
But you need more than that anyway.
No, I know. But what I'm just going to say is, it's not even about saying, whether those players are in. It's where those players have to be at their best.
Yeah. No, that is true.
Because we've already seen with Andre Gomez and we've already seen with Seamus dropping off that level. Pickford, great on Saturday for saves wise. But we know what happens when they drop. So the margin of error has got to be a lot higher. But I think now the club have got to look at that and go, well, if we're just going to bring in 2 or 3 every window, well then Richarlison and Luca Dean will be somewhere else because they haven't got time to wait. No one's got time.
Will be somewhere else.
Exactly. Players haven't got time to wait anymore. That's why clubs have to be aggressive. We've seen the stuff coming out about the scouting. It's great, it's all great, but it'll take years. It'll take years. You've got, if you want to build a first team now, you've got to be aggressive. It's what happened with Spurs. It's why Spurs dropped off a cliff. Okay, they've gone back up again now, but you've got to be aggressive. And it's, if people want to moan at Carlo, that's up to them. But he's still only brought in 4 or 5 players, 6 players if you want to include younger players.
Whatever, yeah.
But the bulk of that, when I looked at that bench on Saturday, I just thought, there you go. There's our problem right there. There's our problem right there.
We know that. We knew that Friday, didn't we? We knew it the week before. We've known it. What we hoped this season was a few other players would step up, and the players we brought in would do well. And the players we brought in have done well. To be fair, they have. They haven't been perfect, but they've done well. But other players haven't done as well as what they should have done. But I think you're right. Carlo isn't above criticism. There's no, there's one thing criticising some of his decisions. It's another thing saying he's not the right man. I've seen quite a few people say he's not the right manager, get rid of him and all that. I don't see what that does to us. I think it just takes us back again and we start again. Seeing it with Arsenal fans, with Arteta, they want him out now and they want Pochettino, and you just keep going like that. But the problem is we've got to improve the squad, and you're right, we've got a window coming up in 6-7 weeks. If Everton are serious about him, but that's another question. Are Everton serious?
Well,
is Moshiri serious?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, he's spent a lot of money, and he might be looking and going, you've had £500 million off me, and this is what you put. But
don't bring a person like Carlo in then.
Yeah.
Because Carlo Ancelotti, like we've mentioned before, he's not a manager who will work with 4 or 5 good players and then create an amazing team. No. He's a manager who looks at it and goes, well, you get me the players and I'll get you the team. So it's pointless. It's all you might as well go and get some, I don't know, Hasselhoff or something like that, which some people would gladly have, which takes time. But all you're going to do is you're going to get a decent team, but you're only going to get it to a certain level, because that's just the way football is in this country, so...
Frustrating.
It is.
That's the biggest thing.
But we got beat by a better team. Simple as that. Simple as that. We got beat by a better team. There you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on this one. Disappointing. It was very, very disappointing. It just shows the realities of the situation. I think, basically, that if the players, if the Richarlison, James Rodriguez's of the world don't play, and we haven't got the Luka Deans of the world playing, then we're a very ordinary team, which we were 12 months ago. So let us know your thoughts in the comments on this one anyway. Make sure to give this video a like. It really helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want more great videos. If you want to watch this video live and get the extended version and get your comments read out, join us on Patreon. There will be a link around here.